What's going on, guys? Aaron from Top Tier Gaming here, and today I'm coming at you with a banlist prediction for the first quarter of 2023. Once again, of course, nothing new. We don't really know when the banlist is going to release. My prediction on when the banlist will release is actually probably after YCS Vegas, so either really late February or really early March is when I'm hoping. Well, that's not true. I'm actually hoping it'll be tomorrow, but realistically, I'm thinking end of February, early March. So I'm going to be doing a banlist prediction. It's going to be a little bit of a longer one because there's a lot of cards I want to talk about. Obviously, we have the stuff that's plaguing the format right now, but there's also things from previous formats and other lists that I still think need to be addressed to some capacity, and you guys will see that as we go along. And yeah, I'm just going to be going over essentially cards that I'm predicting will be hit. I know a lot of people are this looks like a wish list, not a ban list in some lists, so I'm going to be doing it mostly based on what I think Konami will do, but there will be a little bit of wish list, with my opinion splashed in. So before we get into it, I do want to let you guys know, Discord link down below, along with all of our other social media links. Also, I am trying to climb the 10K ladder, so I think I'm close to 13K, so if you do enjoy this Yu-Gi-Oh content and you like what you see here, feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps me out and what I do here on the channel. And without further ado, let's start talking about the, ban list predictions, right? So I have a few categories here. Obviously, we have ban, limited, semi, and unlimit, very standard. And then I have the should be hit, but Konami won't do it. This is essentially where I'm going to put things where I personally feel like it would help the game tremendously if they were hit. Things I want hit, almost like a wish list zone, essentially. And then find where it's at, and you could say that's unlimit or keep placing the card wherever it is, because it's fine. But these are cards where specifically I think these are buzz cards where a lot of people are angry at them. However, I personally feel they're fine. Yeah, that's kind of where it's at, is where people want cards banned, and then I think they don't really need to be. That's as best as I'm explaining that. Words are hard, guys. So I guess I'll start with, I don't know if I want to start with banned or just go through my list. So let's look at the list here. So I'm trying to have it to where you guys can't see which card I'm talking about, but maybe that was not a great idea. Maybe I should have cards, but let's start with bans here. Actually, I'll just show you guys where we're at. I think that just works a lot better. So looking at the list we have here, I have a lot of cards, and we're going to start off with some Tearlaments, and I think it's very obvious that Tearlament is the biggest name in the room. Yeah, I mean, Tearlament have been plaguing the format for quite some time, and if anyone has a problem with this format, it's usually going to be around the Tearlament monster. So I have pretty much all the Tearlaments, except where is Kit Kalos on this list? She's down here for some reason, and Planet's over here. Interesting, but either way, let's start with Havness. So Havness, honestly, I would like to see her limited. The OCG semi-limited her. I don't think that's the right choice personally. I think, and I'm hoping, Konami will limit Havness because she's one of the most powerful cards in the Tearlaments engine. And for me, I really don't like her because she makes hand traps really hard to use, right? Because if you stop your opponent on their turn, you Ash their Shiren and you imperm their Merrily and they have no extenders, right? If you start playing and they Havness, it's like your hand traps did nothing if Havness does all their fusion summoning. Anyways, so I think her being engine and a hand trap is rough. I think Merrily is going to be unlimited. She's kind of fine where she is. So fine where it's at is where I want to put this. And Shiren. See, here's the thing. I think Shiren should be hit because Shiren is broken. However, this is Tearlament's real first hit, right? So I don't think Konami is going to shred them beyond belief and hit them as hard as they're hit in the OCG, right? So I'm going to say Shiren should be hit, but I don't think Konami will this list. So yeah, I'll have Shiren right there. Going through some other Tearlament monsters, we have Kit Kalos. Will they ban Kit Kalos on this list? Me personally, I would like to see it happen because Kit Kalos is a very big tool for them. So, I think Konami will follow the OCG's footsteps here and ban it. Here's the issue, right? I don't think they're banning any Kashtira cards. Maybe Fenrir or Unicorn, but Kashtira haven't gotten to be a deck yet. So it's going to be really strange if they decide to destroy Tearlaments and then leave cash tier, because all we've really done is almost go from one tier 0 format into another tier 0 format, is what it's probably going to feel like. And I'm not sure I like the idea of that, so I don't know. Maybe I'll put it in should be hit, but Konami won't do it. This is like their first hits, right? I just realized I didn't put Rhino Heart in this list, but yeah, that's tough. Yeah, we forgot Rhino Heart, but we'll talk about Rhino Heart. I'm going to say should be hit, but Konami won't do it. I'm going to predict Konami is not going to ban Kit Kalos. Now, Planet, I'm going to put at 1. I think they could realistically put Planet to 1. I think that makes sense. This card is insane, and putting this card at 1, depending if you still want to play Terraforming when your field spell is only a 1 of, you know, you still have 2 of it if you play Terraforming. But yeah, this card is just, it takes Tearlament, which is already insanely strong, and boosts their power level up by a whole nother stage, right? So I'd like to see Planet less when my opponent's playing them. And then Rhino Heart, I think as well they could put at 1. I could see, like, realistically, Rhino Heart, Paralorino, and Hovness being put to 1 there. And then some people argue that Merrily should be hit instead of some of these, so you could argue Merrily should be here, but I don't know. I feel like Merrily is not the one they're going to go after. I feel like she's also the weakest to hand traps. I mean, you can argue Rhino Heart as well. But yeah, also some of these hits should be caveated, because I feel like if you hit some other things, you can actually hit these less hard, but that's sort of where I think Konami's going to go with this list. Is I'll put Rhino Heart in here. Now, when we're talking about Tearlament, I'm also going to talk about these gosh darn Ishizu cards, because honestly, they're my real problem with Tearlaments. If the Ishizu cards didn't exist, I still think Tearlament would need hits, but it would be nowhere near as bad as what it is now. So I've been thinking about these Ishizu cards for a long time now. Can I kind of pull these to the front so it's really easy to see what I'm talking about here? Where's the other guy? Come on, where is Mudora? Oh, there he is. So talking about these Ishizu cards, because I feel like this is one of the biggest points in this ban list discussion. Originally, I don't like the way the OCG did it at all. I think the way the OCG did it is terrible. They put 1 Shuffler to 1 and 1 Miller to 1, and they left the others at 3. Which means you still get 4 of each, which is, it makes it feel like they haven't even been hit. Originally, I began to think you need to hit one of them to 1, or like both of one type to 1. Like, put both Shufflers at 1, or put both Millers at 1. Now, how is Konami gonna do it? That's tough. Personally, I would like to see all of these limited now, because I don't think putting one of a type to 1 is actually gonna do something. However, I think Konami should, and I'm hoping, and I'm predicting that they will put one of these to 1 and then leave the others at 3. So, which one do I think would need to be put to 1? I'm going to say they're going to put both Millers at 1, and then I'm going to put these here, because I think they should be hit, but I don't think they'll do it. If they do what the OCG did, I am going to be kind of upset, because I don't think it fixes anything. I hope they look at the OCG and realize that didn't fix anything. You could argue, some might say Mavens is still too new, but I think at this point it's almost not about what's new. I think Konami will probably try to get rid of these to some capacity. And I'm going to say, and I'm going to predict they're putting both Millers to 1. Obviously, a Guido to 1 looks weird because that's all we play right now. But if Kelbeck was at 1, people would play 3 Agido. So it makes sense when you think of it like that. I think that's all the Tearlament discussion I want to have. Next, I want to talk about these Spright cards, because obviously, also Instant Fusion, I'm going to put right here. I don't think they're hitting Instant Fusion, which is, you know, they made that Insect level 5 Fusion, which got revealed a little while ago. For some reason, I feel like they want Instant Fusion in the game. And if Kalos is banned, it wouldn't be as bad. It's still a really good card, but I don't think Konami is actually going to hit Instant Fusion. But yeah, talking about these Spright cards, so we got Blue, Jet, Starter, and Elf. So I think they could go with what the OCG did and just like limit Starter and Jet and probably call it fine. The problem is, like, some people might say Spright isn't really that crazy right now because Tearlament's so good, but if you hit Tearlament and don't hit Spright, that's scary. Also, we have Toad here. Excuse me, I have another Spright card here. Talking about these. So I've been back and forth on this myself on what I feel they should hit. And, you know, it's gotten to the point where I'm almost ready to just hit Toad. But honestly, I think Toad is fine where it's at. I don't think you need to hit Toad. if you hit like the other Spright cards. But another thing about not hitting Toad, if you don't hit Toad, there's almost never a reason for you to play a Spright variant that isn't totally awesome, right? Like Tri-Brigade Spright, Gishki Spright. I feel like those will only exist in their best form if Toad isn't in the format. And, you know, maybe that's not true, but I'm going to say they're not hitting Toad. Now, Starter better be at 1, okay? I think Konami's going to go after Starter. This is their extending play. This is, well, one of their extending plays. They have Swap Frog, which I don't think they're hitting. And they have some, like, Tri-Brigade Spright has Karis, right? Like, there's some other extenders. You have the Runic engine that could extend if, you know, these Ishizu cards are hit a little bit. But yeah, so I think Starter likely to go to 1. Between Blue or Jet, I think they might follow the OCG and save Blue and put Jet at 1. I think this is very reasonable. It hits so much consistency, but not only consistency, it hits their grind. And that's pretty big. Now, Elf is an interesting one because personally, this card is one of the craziest Spright cards in the entire deck. Like, this is most of their grind game. This is other decks abuse Spright Elf, and truly, honestly, I would like to see Spright Elf banned eventually. I don't think Konami's gonna hit Elf though. Personally, I think Konami, just to be different from the OCG, might do it, but I don't know. Like, because sometimes they like to be different from the OCG almost for the sake of being different, it feels like. So maybe they'll replace Jet and Elf and put Elf at 1. But I'm going to say they're going to do that. So, yeah. Now, I think that's all the Spright hits and all the Tearlaments hits, which is like the main thing to talk about. There's some things from old format I want to talk about, which is Artifact Scythe. And I'm just going to put this here. I think Scythe should be banned. I know a lot of people haven't been thinking about Scythe in so long because, you know, we haven't been dealing with him. The second things are hit and Konami hits all the decks that have been Power the Elements, since Power the Elements was essentially just a mistake, Scythe will come back one day. He will be back again. He's not gone just because we're in a format where he's not relevant. He will come back and he'll be a problem then too. So for the betterment of the game, I want this card banned. I don't think Konami's going to do it. But, you know, there we are. Magnemute, and you might be wondering why Magnemute looks different than all the others. For some reason, I couldn't find a good picture of Magnemute and didn't feel like making my own. So I think it should be hit, but it's not going to be hit this list. I think the Bestial engine is something that does need addressing eventually, but I don't think Konami's going to do it. Me personally, I would love to see Magnemute at 1 and probably another one of them at 1 too, because I personally think the Bestials aren't great for the game overall. Right now, they're a necessary evil in the format because the format demands the Bestials to be here. But I think it should eventually be hit, but I don't think Konami's actually going to hit it on this list. Boat, please unlimit my boat. Or, let's, you know, maybe we should put it limited first. I said that and then I thought about it. Going straight to unlimited might be a little wild for... You know, this thing is unlimited, or maybe not unlimited, but it's not banned in, I believe, the OCG and Master Duel. Now, if you're going to bring this back, maybe you should have Wind Up Hunter banned. But I don't know. I feel like this card should come back. I feel like Konami could do it as well, just because it's been done in the other formats we have as well. Glow Up Bulb, sort of the same thing. Why is Glow Up Bulb still banned? I think this card should come back. I think it, you know, not even like... it should be here and Konami won't do it. I think Konami just forgot about Glow Up Bulb, and if I was to predict, I'm just going to say this is the list. They'll finally like realize, oh, Glow Up Bulb is still banned. Let's bring it back. Pot of Desires, I think, should also be unlimited. You know, why is Desires at 2? It's really weird. Now, I guess you guys might want to see some of the bans, so I'm sort of hopping around, but I guess we can talk about Floowandereeze now, which is another big deck I didn't really talk about yet. Which I guess we can put D-Shifter in this discussion as well. Floowandereeze is interesting, right? Because I don't think the deck... so, putting my bias out there, I despise Floowandereeze. I think it is so unfun to play against. But it's really deciding which card in the engine is causing that problem. And I think, looking at all these, I'm just going to ban the statue. I think this is a no-brainer. I think this should be on everyone's prediction list. And it's a prediction list, but this is on everyone's wish list too. If you're not a Floowandereeze player, you want this card banned. deck. This card is so toxic and unfun, and I honestly think if this card was banned, Floowandereeze wouldn't be such a nightmare to play against. It's just like the combination of exactly M-Pen, map, and statue together create this just floodgate lock in an engine that's really tough to deal with. And I feel like if you ban the statue, Floowandereeze would actually be more fun to play and more fun to play against. So, and then also Arsenal Falcon things with Kashtira. This card should be hit. Map, I think it's fine where it's at as long as you ban the statue. If you're not banning statue, then I want to see multiple Floowandereeze cards hit to 1. But I think banning statue fixes it. Featherstorm, interesting. Maybe you could argue for should be hit, but Konami won't do it. I don't think Konami's hitting Featherstorm. Personally, my bias, like, I almost don't want it hit because I play Harpies, and without this card, that's never a deck. It's still not a deck. Like, it's actually really fun to play, but it's not competitively super viable. But yeah, putting my bias aside, this probably should be hit, but I don't think Konami's banning it. Same with D-Shifter. I would like to see D-Shifter removed from the game entirely. I don't think Konami's going to do it, so we're going to put D-Shifter in should be hit, but Konami won't do it. Again, you guys can let me know down below how you feel about doing ban list, because when I do a ban list and I include most of my wish list stuff, I get a bunch of comments going like, hey, this isn't a prediction, this is a wish list, and I just want to talk about how I would fix the game. But then I feel like when I'm talking and like I'm making predictions, a lot of my opinion and what I want to see hit doesn't actually come through, which is why this tier hit is like right here. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys want to see. Do you want me to add some more wishlist stuff, like, and how I would fix the game? Or is it fine like this, or do you want it just be like strictly predictions? So leave that down in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear you guys' thoughts on that. So yeah, I think D-Shifter should be banned personally, because I think it's a really disgusting card, and I would hate it at 1 for sure. I don't think Konami's touching D-Shifter though. Speaking of like other cards that sort of fit this category, Abyss Dweller. This is a card where people put it here. I'm gonna put it in fine where it's at, which may be controversial. I bet there's gonna be a lot of comments on this one because there are people so adamantly against Abyss Dweller. And yes, it's a floodgate. I hate floodgates. If I could put every floodgate in the ban section, like all the trap floodgates are the ones that come to mind especially, I would. Abyss Dweller for me is weird because it has been good at so many different points in the game, but it's always been just part of like the rank 4 toolbox. If you're banning Dweller, you got to look at Baguska next. Like, are we banning Baguska now? And like, you could argue yes, ban both of them at that point, but I feel like rank 4s should have somewhat of a toolbox. Like, I think this format, it's really tough because the best deck is able to go for Dweller, which counters the best deck, and it creates this weird sort of dichotomy in like with this card, and it's really in the hot spot, right? But there are formats where the best deck is a graveyard deck and they don't make Dweller themselves, and we'll feel like we need Dweller to stop that deck, and that happens so many times. Like, thinking about when Dinosaur was really powerful, I really liked Dweller. Thinking about when Tier wasn't making this card, which I guess they've always been able to make this card, but thinking about graveyard decks that in the past, things like Dragon Rulers, I was really happy to have Abyss Dweller, right? So I don't know. I feel like this card personally is fine. You could definitely argue it to be banned. I see the argument. I'm not going to say I want it hit or think it's going to get hit. I really don't think Konami's going to hit this card personally. Let me get that out of the way, but I also just think it's fine where it's at. Let's just go in order a little bit here now, because why do I have Desires twice? That's crazy. But yeah, Branded Fusion. Okay, so I'm going to put this in should be hit, but Konami won't do it. And the reason I'm putting it there is because if you hit Tearlament, you hit Floowandereeze, you hit Spright, Branded goes hard, okay? Like, Branded is getting so much good support, and like post Photon Hypernova, it's like good, but then the set after is when it really gets crazy, I think. And Branded Fusion, I think, will eventually need to be at 1. But I don't think this list they're hitting Branded Fusion. It would feel a little weird. I would love for them to create, like, do a massive ban list where they actually sweep through all of these decks. But I don't think Branded Fusion is getting hit. Super Poly, Me personally, I would love to see this card gone. I think it's a disgusting board breaker. That being said, I don't think Konami is going to do it. Super Poly's not seeing a lot of play right now, but the second they released Garura, I think Super Poly became just too much. You can actually just do it versus almost every single deck, except like Floowandereeze, which is very annoying. Which, if Statue gets hit, then this card is a Floowandereeze board breaker as well, potentially, depending on how they're ending their boards. But yeah, I mean, personally, I don't like Super Poly. I think Konami's not touching it, which is why I'm putting it here. But yeah, I've seen a lot of people put this in semi recently. I think it's just going to stay where it's at. I'm going to put this fine where it's at. I think they'll leave it at 1 maybe for a while. They could unlimit it or put it a semi. They could put a semi to test it. Sure, I agree with that. Harpour, this is the list, guys. This is the list. By the way, I'm not an Orcus player. I wasn't playing during Internal Format. That was part of my hiatus. But Orcus, what are we afraid of? What are we afraid of? We have full power Tearlaments, and we're afraid of Harpour. Just bring the Harp back. We even have Bestials. Like, why is Harp banned and we have Bestials? I don't know. Ancient Fairy Dragon, I'm going to put in unlimit because it got an errata, I believe. Do we have that errata yet? I'm actually not informed or well educated on how the errata with this card works. Do we have it yet? I don't know. Once we get it, we can unlimit this card. I don't actually know if that's this list or not. Colossus. No. I don't want it. It's fine where it's at. Keep it banned. I'm not trying to throw shade at all the Thunder Dragon players, but this card is unfair. This card is a bully. I don't like that it's a Floodgate on legs. And no, Dweller's right next to it, so I know people might be like, this is contradicting, but Dweller in like rank 4 decks, where I argued, is where it's usually being made, and like it's part of some really nasty end boards, like Pendulum can do it. But a Thunder board with Colossus is much, much, much harder to break in my opinion, and much easier to access than Dweller in other decks. So I hate Colossus. Runic Fountain, I'm gonna save that one for last, I guess. Blaster, I think it's time. Now, I think there's a chance, now hear me out, if they don't do it this list, which we'll say February, that they could do it in May of 2023, and I believe it would be a decade since the Dragon Ruler's release. I believe Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy was actually May of 2013. Might have been a little bit earlier than that, April 2013. I think so. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's May 2013. So if they actually waited for one more list to bring back all the Dragon Rulers, that would actually be sick, because it's like they're coming back on their 10th anniversary. And it's funny because we often used to say so much, Dragon Rulers were way ahead of their time. But like, how ahead of their time were they? Apparently to Konami, they were 10 years ahead of their time, if they decide to bring it back. But I saw some people saying the Dragon Rulers should stay banned, and for maybe title, you could argue. I don't think Redox would really matter, but Blaster should definitely come back. Why would Blaster not come back? So yeah, Gazelle, bring it to 3. No qualms there. And then Runic Fountain is interesting, and I guess I should have talked about this when I was talking about more meta stuff. Now, Runic is a very, very, very powerful deck, and the only reason it's not dominating like it was around Darkwing Blast is because of exactly Keldo and Mudora. If we hit Keldo and Mudora, which in this list I said they didn't, but the Ishizu cards being hit kind of hit these as well, because the engine becomes less strong when the shufflers, or the millers, excuse me, are gone. Now, personally, I think they should all be at 1. I just think Konami's going to put 2 of them of the same type to 1. That's what I'm hoping. But yeah, Runic Fountain, in my opinion, should be at 1, because I like Runic Fountain at 1 because it means if you out it with a Cosmic Cyclone, it's gone, but you still let Runic have their 1. So yeah, personally, I think this card should be hit. I don't think they're going to do it, though. Not this list. But yeah, that is going to be it for my ban list predictions. Definitely a longer one. Now, I know this isn't every card, and I definitely should put this at the beginning of the video, is that, I didn't go over every card, and people are going to comment on that. So leave down below in the comments what card I forgot, except Rhino Heart, because I talked about him. Rhino Heart was up here. And yeah, feel free to leave your opinions down below what you thought of the ban list. Again, I tried to stray from the wishlist stuff and sort of designate that to one of my categories and then do the predictions for this. So let me know what you guys think of that and how you feel about these banlist predictions going forward. And again, you can leave your predictions down below as well. I'd like to read those. This has been Aaron from Top Tier Gaming. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, like and subscribe. Bye, YouTube.